All right, folks, I couldn't think of anybody better to talk about the natural gas industry than my friend, entrepreneur in the oil and gas industry for years. He's done just about everything in business, and we love to talk business. He is Ted Arnott. Of course, Sunday we'll be walking the line against the spread. Truly is one of the more popular segments of anything, radio or television, that I've ever done in my career. So it's nice to have him talking business. And as I've been promoting ShaleInsight.com, all sorts of wonderful people from the industry that I love will be at the convention center the 27th and 28th, including former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Going to be an incredible couple of days. It's all about the natural gas industry and the impact of the Shell petrochemical plant. So I thought we were in Ohio tonight. Why not talk what's happening in Ohio? So let's say good evening to Ted Arnott. And Ted, Jude Clemente, who writes the oil and gas industry byline in Forbes magazine, did a little research and it turned into a lot of pleasurable writing. You know, I love sports and I love all of the things that I do in my incredible career as an entertainer, but I love business. And it's one thing that really makes me focus, and it really it enlightens me on what's happening in the world. And this young man does a great job. And I was doing some research for this interview tonight with Ted, and Ted's always been talking about Ohio and West Virginia long before anybody was talking about this Shell petrochemical plant as this place being the sweet spot. Well, Ohio's Utica, the wet gas, if you will, Pennsylvania's Marcellus Shale, is one of the country's major gas producers. Now, these are all numbers, folks, from Forbes. It's the Bible of the business industry, right? Price may be only about $3, but Ohio has added 29 rigs since March. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources in the second quarter, gas is up 5%. And guess what? It's happening close to home. Belmont, Harrison, Monroe, Carroll, and that great county of Jefferson County, 90% of the output in those places I just mentioned. Even the pipeline process may have slowed a bit, but they're all waiting for the Rover, the largest project in the gas boom, $4.2 billion project that's going to cover 713 miles. 9 gas-fired power plants under some sort of development now in Ohio. Price tag, because of the gas industry in Ohio, are you sitting down? $50 billion. Then there is the Shell and the petrochemical hub making ethane from natural gas and turning it into plastics. So the race is on. Isn't that correct, Ted Arnott?
Absolutely. You've got a lot of vendors and manufacturers looking at this area who are in the chemical petro industry, looking to move to the Ohio Valley. We've said that this is going to happen, and I think we're a few years away from it actually blossoming. But, I mean, you've got not just the Rover pipeline, you got the Shell pipeline feeding into the Monaca plant that comes all the way from Michigan, and you have 2 different pipelines, major pipelines, actually crossing Jefferson and Hancock County, West Virginia. So there's a lot that's going to be happening, and a lot of land is going to be used, not just for drilling, but for all of these processes, both downstream and upstream of the gas plant. I think it's pretty exciting.
You know, one of the things, how it's kind of come from its raw stages early on with these drilling rigs, you know, out in the forest somewhere or on some farmland, and many of those farmers were able to keep their farms because of it. It really is starting to refine, and it kind of reminds me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Oil City in the old days of oil, when you think of the Rockefeller family and how it began, and it eventually ended up in places such as huge oil refineries that put tens of thousands, and if not hundreds of thousands of people to work year after year in creating an economic stimulus in the coal industry, in the steel industry. So I'm seeing a lot of similarities with the natural gas industry. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely fair statement. If you go back and you really study oil, the oil industry in the 1700s was based out of Nantucket, and it was the whale oil business that kept all of the street lights going. And the whale oil industry really collapsed upon the development of the first commercially productive oil well in Pennsylvania. And then the Rockefeller got involved with distribution. Once again, we talked about upstream and downstream. He was in every aspect of it. That's why he got subject to antitrust laws in the early 1900s. So without a doubt, this area has been in the past, will become again in the future, one of the mainstays. And You and I have talked about it before. One of the things that happened last year towards the end of the year is that buried in a budget bill was the segment that allows people in the oil and gas industry to export liquid natural gas out of the United States, which really is the first time since the early 70s when we hit our first oil embargo. So it's once again, because of the price of oil and natural gas right now, it's been somewhat inhibited, but you're seeing the people who want infrastructure really going whole hog to try and make sure that they've got their place set for when that turns around.
Talking to Ted Arnaud, and don't forget Shale Insight coming to the Convention Center 27-28. Ted, I know what that means, but explain to the audience why this means that somewhere out there, the people that make these crucial decisions to employ all of these people worldwide realize Pittsburgh is a pretty important place to be right now when it comes to the natural gas industry. And all you need to do is look at the investment of $2 billion that the wonderful folks at Royal Dutch Shell out of the Netherlands has decided to do right here in our tri-state.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at the area, the Monaca, Hancock County, Jefferson County, that area, if you do concentric circles as far as how the natural gas development is expected to occur, we're sitting right in the middle of it. So definitely Pittsburgh, the eastern part of Ohio, Salem is starting to see a lot of growth as a result of the industry in Ohio. So we're going to see more of that spread. I look at these circles and just look at the Monaca circle and recognize that the next circle out is going to be where a lot of the development occurs over the next 3 or 4 years.
Ted, where do you see the use of natural gas? And we'll close on this note. 20, 30 years down the road. We know right now we're thinking heating and energy, but where do you see it? Could it actually be powering automobiles someday, do you think?
It already does. They use Columbia Gas has almost all of their vehicles powered by natural gas. And it's only logical, obviously, they have not an unlimited, not a huge supply of natural gas, but the technology to use natural gas to power automobiles is already there. I think what you're going to see a huge development as everybody's looking towards clean energy is the use of natural gas to convert in gas to electric plants, whether they be what's called behind the fence, where industries, manufacturing concerns have their own natural gas to electric plant, or whether it's actually going through the grid. And I think that's where you're going to see liquid natural gas and natural gas really propel its use in the future.
Here's what I love the most about it. You have great union labor. The Keystone Mountain Lake Regional Council of Carpenters, some 6,000 will be working there for years building the Shell petrochemical plant. You look at the economic stimulus to the region, meaning money that will be spent from those paychecks and by companies that will be coming here to chime in and be the feeder stock of the Shell petrochemical plant, such as plastic plants. We are on the verge of something that is going to be so incredible over the next 25 years as far as the job growth and the job shelf, that it may never happen again, because it won't have to happen again, because this thing could go on for infinity and people and generations could be employed for decades to come. And when you think about anything that's good news, if someone can have a life-sustaining job beyond a few years and to really put down roots and raise their family, ladies and gentlemen, that's a taste of the good life. And now for Ted Arnaud and Jimmy Joe Savage at Legacy Studios in East Liverpool, Ohio, after this very long day, it is Rob Pratt, your Pratt Pack, saying good night, everybody.